Hey everyone, it's Natch here doing another review for games and how getting 100% by completing the trophy list can help your mental fitness. Please keep in mind everything here is just my opinion, based on my own life experience. There are some professional studies that would suggest I'm on the right track, but for now, I'm here to just spread the word and help people look at gaming as more than just entertainment. So with that, let's jump right in. Today I'm going over Diablo 2, Resurrected, D2R for short, developed by Blizzard, released in 2021. D2R is both single and multiplayer, but an internet connection is required to complete it. I am very familiar with this game, having played the original when it first came out, and honestly had done nearly the entire trophy list here back when trophies weren't even a thing. So needless to say, I had great expectations for this, really just meaning that I hope that they kept the original intact and just essentially updated the graphics and maybe tweaked some of the gameplay mechanics so that it was a little bit easier to navigate. Having now completed D2R, I have to say it didn't disappoint. Again, kudos to Blizzard for not overdoing things and really just keeping masterpieces a masterpiece. Okay, so before we get into the fun stuff, some of you might be asking, is this appropriate for kids to play? In short, probably-ish, but let's take an organic look at it anyways. The ESRB rating for D2R is mature, 17 and older, for blood and gore, suggestive themes, and violence. Yeah, that's all found in here, but I'd say it's perfectly fine for teen, 13 and older. This is because the whole game is fantasy in nature, forces of good versus evil, essentially. All the weapons and violence are medieval and sorcery in nature. Sure, the graphics are much more detailed than your average fantasy game, but the narrative is all the same. So to me, ESRB tends to be very selective when it comes to this genre, and but I for one essentially call it for what it is and what the developers meant for it to be. And again, since you're thinking more in fantasy terms, and yes, the violence and stuff that you find in there, I mean, there's a lot of games out there that, maybe the graphics aren't as detailed. And I don't mean essentially the blood and gore, but just like the way that it goes about, and then ESRB essentially, grades it for lesser audiences. It just doesn't really make sense. So with that, to me, I think that the game's fine for teen and older. Alright, so now you may be wondering just how long this will take to get 100%. Well, to be honest, a lot of that will depend on the skill set of the player. For me, I expected D2R to take me over 65 hours to get 100% easily. And that was definitely the case here. Just taking over a mere 300 hours to complete. A whopper of a doozy. Some factors that can affect your completion time are glitches, game difficulty, and multiplayer settings. It is also possible to boost this with a friend, but that is not recommended if you're going for the hardest trophy, which just happens to be the one that takes the longest as well. And the trophy list itself is pretty standard, and if you'd like to see the guides I use, they will be in the video description below. Okay, so now to the fun stuff. As you know, the whole point of my channel is to help educate and promote gaming for mental fitness. I truly believe you can improvise or improve so many mental abilities and by earning 100% in a game rather than just playing the game for fun. For me, D2R was a mixed mental workout. From reflex to endurance and critical thinking. It was exhaustive, but very helpful. Currently, the hardest trophy in the game is I'm going to do what's called a pro gamer move, which requires you to reach the max level of any character, which is 99, and it has to be on a hardcore character, meaning that if you die, that's it. You have to start a whole game over, brand new character, can't save anything from the character that died. So without a doubt, that was definitely the hardest trophy for me to earn as well. And just for some perspective of how long it takes, the amount of experience that you need to get to level 98 to 99 is the exact same amount of the experience you need to go from level 1 to 98. And there's you don't gain as much experience at these higher levels. So yeah, it takes a lot. There are a few ways to go about this, but generally it will depend on the character you use, the skill and the gear that you have, with handling the areas that are best to farm for experience, which also tends to be the hardest to do or hardest to survive. But if you are doing the single player, you can actually recover your hardcore character if they do die from your cloud save, which I essentially did and had to do multiple times. So yeah, it definitely takes a lot to earn this one. And before we call it a wrap here, let's talk a bit about improvements. When I think about trophies that would have reflected D2R and have been helpful for mental fitness, I would have really liked to have seen speedrun trophies, specifically those built around characters and player difficulty settings. That would likely have promoted more multiplayer gaming in the community and challenged players, even if just limited to clearing certain sections of the game, or just defeating a boss. And just as a personal preference, I felt a nod to the secret cow level would have been great. It was such a huge Easter egg and is very known in the gaming community. So, you know, having a trophy like possibly wearing the entire set pieces that you could only find in that level, that would have been nice to see, you know. I mean, maybe Blizzard could have called it the King's Leathers, you know. So if you know, you know. Okay, so that's a wrap. Again, I really enjoyed Diablo 2, and again, I have to admit I'm a little biased here just because I'm a huge fan of the original growing up, and it wasn't necessarily nostalgia. It was just I looked forward to, I guess, completing the tasks that I didn't fully get to there, so it's kind of like unfinished business for me. But as far as mental fitness goes, I would recommend this to anyone 13 and older. For me, D2R really helped me build mental endurance above anything. And if you have any questions about the game or mental fitness, or just want to share your experience with D2R, feel free to leave a comment or message me. I will do my best to answer any questions in a reasonable time. Alright everyone, that's another review in the bag. If you want to watch me play live and even join in on my multiplayer games, follow me on Twitch. If you'd like to hear more about my game previews and initial impressions, then go on over and follow my Instagram. I also do polls on X for games I'm playing. And finally, as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all on the next video. Bye!